Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, anywhere the team is. My name is Sanjeev Pant. I'm with PMsquare. I'm the VP for Cloud Solutions and Services here. Today, I know it's a short webinar we're doing, but we are doing it on a very important topic. So let me go ahead and kind of build it out first on what we'll be talking about. So the focus for today is we will be talking about GenAI pitfalls, why projects fail, and how to avoid them. We have, as PMsquare team, we have done several GenAI both internally to build digital assets as well as externally with our customers. And today, I wanted to take this time to talk about our experiences, what we have found, and getting that in front of the team to really understand why these types of projects needs to have a better attention, a more linear attention to that. So with that said, let's get into the agenda really quick. I want to start off with a quick intro to GenAI, give you the Gartner's view on GenAI and layman's term on GenAI. Some of the common pitfalls in GenAI projects. What are the strategies to avoid GenAI pitfalls? And this is all these are all things that we learned on the field, and taking taking a leaner approach to truly understanding what some of these strategies. And then finally, talk about client use case. So let's start with a quick introduction to GenAI. So Gartner defines generative AI as a type of artificial intelligence, what they call a technique to a new way of doing artificial intelligence that uses algorithms such as generative adversarial networks or GANs, or transformer-based model to generate new content that is like existing data. So essentially a synthetic form. What that means in layman's terms is, in simple terms, it means that generative AI is a type of computer program that can create new digital artifacts like text, pictures, or music by learning from a lot of examples. So what does that really mean, right? There's a lot of discussions, complexity around generative AI. People will dive in head first into this new way of doing things, in the aspects of productivity, in the aspects of new ways of doing things, in around application modernization or application transformation by injecting generative AI. So in order to do that, what is that complexity? So let me walk you through kind of the building block for generative AI infrastructure, and I'll piecemeal it to you guys so you guys see what is that process that goes behind the scenes to make these types of projects work. So let's start with semiconductors, cloud, and inferences. So I'll touch on cloud as a service. AWS, Azure, GCP all have really good footing in generative AI as that cloud provider of choice based on the customer's ask. On top of that, you have the foundational models, or what they call large language models, which is essentially a trained model at a very trained model for a very large data sets. Frameworks, things like how you want to build it out, Python, TensorFlow, to name a few. Orchestrations and vector databases. How do you use orchestration and vector databases to create RAG models, right? Which is more specific to and more tuned to a specific customer's need. Fine tuning that model, right? What goes into fine tuning it, right? Things like Octa ML is one of them. Labeling, right? Metadata tagging, labeling is so important. So labeling, creating synthetic data, right? So using GANs, how do you create synthetic data for the purposes of defining these different various examples? Model supervision and AI observability. Observability is a big thing, right? It's always been a big thing in application modernization, and it still continues to be a big thing, especially with the acceleration in AI and what you're doing with generative AI. So having observability at a full stack capabilities or capacity is very important. And then finally, model safety. you want to ensure that the model is safety, right? So this is kind of the building block for generative AI infrastructure that you usually see, and you have to, be when you are designing, when you're thinking about those things, you have to make sure that you are designing in a way that fits this building block. So let's talk about common pitfalls in generative AI projects. So let's start with business and technical challenges. I'll go first on the business side because that's important. The biggest challenges on common pitfalls in generative AI for why projects fails is the communication failures between business leaders and technology leaders. And the reason behind this is, I shouldn't say there's a reason behind it. It happens because we just don't communicate as much as we have to, to go after these very net new cutting edge technological changes. So having a better communication channel between business leaders and technology leaders is very important. The business leaders and technology leaders need to, in collaboration, define what those business outcomes are, and then apply the working backwards principles to really truly understand the maturity around, whether they can do it or not, and what are the gaps around it. You have to do your homework, right? As a business, you have to do your homework. You have to understand what, how, what, why, and how can generative AI add value to your outcomes that you're looking for. Understanding the company data maturity. I've always been a data guy, and one of the things that I always told is, behind every problem there's a data problem. You find that data problem, you will be able to find the problem that you are after. And so understanding the company's data maturity is very important. You need to understand where data is, how is that getting consumed, how is the data being moved in your environment, who is the end consumer of those data sets, and how accessible is that data to your end consumers. And finally, failure to take a proof of concept use case to production settings. So this is one of the biggest concerns, one of the biggest reasons why you don't see a true end-to-end production-ready GenAI-driven application, is because we get too much carried away with the proof of concept, or what we also call proof of value. We do not take account and we don't take the time, and we don't invest the time to truly understand how to take the proof of concept into production, and what is that alignment between business and technology, right? That's very important. The alignment between business and technology is very important. Let me talk about a little about technical challenges. As mentioned, data challenges. You always have to understand what those data challenges are. What is the volume of your data? What is the velocity of the data that is coming into your ecosystem? How are you managing it? What type of infrastructure do you have? Do you have elastic infrastructure, or is it pretty traditional way? What type of data sets that is, right? Structured, unstructured, semi-structured, or all of the above? How do you create a data governance around it? These are all the technical challenges that needs to be ironed out as you venture into generative AI projects. Model selection and training. So it's very important, right? The idea of a large language model is a model that has already been trained on a specific thing, on a specific example. So it is very crucial for technologists, particularly in the areas of solution architects, principal architects, technology strategists, to be able to truly understand how to select these models, what these models do for you and don't do for you, and then provide a training or retraining mechanism for those models. Doing so in the right way will allow you to save time, and the time to production will be much smaller. Doing this in a very different way and not doing the right way will create confusion between your data team and your data science team, and really prevent you to taking your proof of value, or even taking that proof value into production extremely difficult. Deployments. You need to truly understand what those deployment strategies are, whether that's um, a blue-green type of deployments, or other aspects of the deployment strategies that you want to employ. You also have to go back into your existing deployment strategies to truly understand how to deploy these net new artifacts in high environments. Data governance. Data governance is very important because and we have seen this time and again with very large organizations, a small change, a small hiccup in the data governance can create extremely bad downstream cascading effects. So data governance is very important. And you want to make sure that you have all the controls around data governance put into your data strategy before you venture into a generative AI projects. Data security. How do you secure the data, right? Which is very important. So all the controls around security needs to be implemented and executed. If you are in more a compliant, stringent environment, hospitals, financial institutions, you have to ensure that data security is compliant. You have to ensure the services or the large language models services that goes into it. As an example, if you're using Amazon Bedrock, you have to ensure that that service is compliant to the standards that are part of your the institutions that you're working under. So those are some of the. So if I go back to this common pitfall, these are some of the these fact findings that we have found while doing multiple projects in generative AI. Now let's talk more about strategies to avoid generative AI. Um, what what are some of the things that you could do and start thinking about as you go through the process of being a AI first or AI driven company backed by a true data maturity environment? So, as I mentioned before, I don't want to be a broken record here, but the most important thing for the strategies to avoid generative AI pitfalls is you you need to understand your business to IT alignment, which drives your business outcomes. What this really means is when you have a business initiative, I want to cut down my IT productivity or increase my IT productivity by 40%. How can generative AI help me? I want to use intelligent chatbots to drive or empower my employees who are on the phone talking to customers. That is a business driver. You have to align that business driver with IT capabilities. You have to talk with your IT counterpart to understand what is the maturity of the IT organization in order to take these use cases and build solutions around it to ultimately create that outcome you're looking for. Build a cross-functional team. Um, Generative AI projects are complex, and by design they're complex, right? This is such a new technique in artificial intelligence. There's a lot of experimentation going on. In order to make a project successful, whether you're doing a POC, POV, or taking that to production, building a cross-functional team is very important. What does that mean? A cross-functional team is a composition of capabilities around your engineering arm that has a proper definition, or a squad, right? In Agile, they call it squad, a squad based model where you have say hypothetically you're deploying this in a cloud service provider, and let's be even more specific. You're deploying this on Amazon Web Services. You have to make sure that your cloud is architected correctly. So you need a cloud architect, you need a cloud engineer to execute on that architecture, you need data architects to truly understand the data maturity, and also data engineers to execute on that vision. You need to have a technical project manager. Note, I said technical project manager, not a project manager. You need to have a technical project manager who understand technologies and can and will work both with the customer, or your end customer in this case, whether it's internal or external, and work with the solution architect. You need to have a proper definition of your QA resources to build out QA based testing framework. Things like AI ops and ML ops are very important, so you need to have the right folks in that. So net, what I'm trying to say is that building a cross-functional team is extremely important. A lot of people I've found and have seen that we sometimes don't pay too much attention to the cross-functional team. But if you want to truly drive a successful generative AI project, whether that's a net new project or injecting life into an existing application through application transformation driven by generative AI, you need to build a cross-functional team that understands the entirety of the project to take it from POV, POC to a production setting. As mentioned before, understand your data maturity within your organization. Data is king, right? There's also a saying that said, data is the new oil a few years ago. It is still the same concept. Technology changes very, very fast, right? A couple of years ago, we were just talking about machine learning. A few years back, we were just talking about business logics, right? And in between, we started talking about deep learning, and then neural network, and then came generative AI with a bang, and that accelerated with ChatGPT. So here we are. We have all this technology, toolings, and tricks under our belt. How do we harness that? In order to truly harness the left side of, in order to truly harness the right side of the equation, that is generative AI based outcomes, you need to understand your data maturity, which is the left side of the equation. That is, how are you building your data pipeline? How are you building your data storage? What type of storage are you building for elasticity? How is that data moving from your, as an example, a data lake into a enterprise data warehouse, into how that data gets pulled by the tool of choice that you have, and how is that getting fed into your large language model for training. This is why understanding your data maturity within an organization is extremely important. I have found personally companies who have had really true data maturity is bound for success. Now let me talk a little bit about this, since I mentioned about companies. There is two, when we look at generative AI projects, you also have to figure out what company you're working with. Is it an enterprise? Is it an SMB? Because the execution of that, and not only just the execution, the understanding, the alignment of business and technology leaders becomes complex. So, for example, in an enterprise, you have a lot of the siloness, right? Everyone is doing their own thing. They're very protective about the data. So there's not a lot of data sharing going on. So what I found is executing a data maturity project that aligns with a generative AI project at an enterprise level is more tedious. There is a lot of check boxes you have to check in order to be there. Enterprises, the good part of enterprises is that they have internal as well as external resources to act really fast on this. And they have become a lot mature than last year. They truly understand today what it takes to build a generative AI project and make it successful, and evangelize that internally for using what you built. For small, medium, and large companies, this is difficult in the sense that what you need is a very lean team. So resources are limited for SMBs, but they're lean enough to execute on this much faster. So what I found is that there is different ways to truly drive the execution and the adoption of a generative AI based on enterprise or SMBs. Build an AI first security and governance processes which aligns with business outcomes. It's a no-brainer. Everyone knows that security is paramount, and security and governance together will make your projects move much faster. What this really means at the ground level is engaging your security consultants, engaging your chief information security officer early and often is the right thing to do, and that would be a better alignment. Invest in R&D. This is very important. Generative AI is such a new technique for AI. Investing on R&D is extremely crucial. This is one of the most important things. And then fail fast. If you don't fail fast, if you try to resolve a problem and look at every permutations and combinations, you will run into challenges very quickly. Just because of the fact that you are so fast and far into that development cycle, you can't go back. So it is always better to fail fast. Apply the agile methodologies. Build it out. If it doesn't work, pivot. And then finally, invest in your engineering arm through continuous learning. It is very important to have continuous learning for your engineering team to know the new techniques of generative AI. So what I've talked to so far is more around what PMsquare come to the table with, what our experiences are. What we have done is we have taken those experiences, applied that to some of the internal digital assets that we build. So I want to key on these are all the digital assets that we have that we are making it available through the AWS marketplace. There are few, like SimAI is an example. It is in the blue color there. I want to kind of hone in on this. Simulation AI is born out of necessity. The necessity was to create a data, synthesize data for healthcare. We used a healthcare GAN to start off with. But what it has matured into is, and it's in our what we call the Digital Industry Solution Catalog, or DISC, is it uses generative AI built on AWS for personal treatment simulation and recommendations. And I'll show you kind of a couple of screens around it that shows two personas, one for the doctor and the other one for the patient, right? And then here's a high-level view of get health prevention form from AI, and it goes back into our generative AI that is running on Bedrock, Amazon Bedrock, and pulls the relevant data that would need that the medical providers would need to make a recommendation. So that is what we did for that is what we're doing internally for building out the digital assets. I want to talk a little bit more about since we have limited time now. I want to jump quickly into one of the success stories that we have with an electronic company in Midwest. This was entirely built on AWS. It uses Bedrock. Underneath the covers, it uses Claude, Anthropic Claude, and it is an application that is used for creating intelligent chatbots. So the customer was being pushed to implement AI for operational IT efficiency and cost optimizations. So customer really wanted a quick win with a strong ROI to lead organization generative AI directions, but didn't know where to start. And the passport experiences with outside consultants, budget restriction were a big thing for them. So what we did, we worked with the customer. We truly understood their requirements. Our solution, PMsquare solution architect, did a fantastic job to truly understand what the customer was asking for, and we were able to do this. The phase one, which is the prototype for the customers to integrate with their ServiceNow tickets, and we were able to get this done in a matter of 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. We spent 4 weeks to build it out, and then a couple of weeks to really test it out and make some bug fixes. And the second phase is a large-scale deployment, which we are working with customers for the next phase. Just want to touch on the high level. It's all built on AWS architecture data flow, right? Goes into S3 bucket. From there, the data is pulled through a Lambda function, and then goes into Bedrock agent or Bedrock through a Bedrock agent to be able to provide the recommendation that you see on the screen. So how did we do this, right? So PMsquare, we have this offering called PMsquare Ideation Session Workshop. So it's a 4-hour session with our customers. We go to the customer. It's a complimentary session that we do where we strategize, and then we build out, a go-to-market, not so much a go-to-market, but more of a roadmap on what the customer is asking for. And then we build custom solutions on around it. So we have this thing called ideation session. And the reason we ideate is because we truly want to, going back to the ideation session, we truly want to understand the business KPIs, what is the technical debt that the customer has, the maturity of your workforce. And with that, we kind of work with the customer to build it out, right? And the execution of that is what we call iLAB, which is also called Innovation Lab in full form. And this is a 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks fixed fees, fixed time bound, squad-based delivery model. And what you get as a customer, which the use case that I just showed you, the customer gets a customized data and app lab environment on AWS or Azure, whichever your cloud of choice is. Data and API integration and transformation, security and compliance, advanced analytics and machine learning, and other things around it. And how do we get started with customers? We start with the ideation session, and then we slowly work towards identifying the use case that we want to go after, designing it, building it, and evaluating it. Some of the business outcomes that we always want to look at what that outcome is, right? From iLAB business outcome standpoint, what our customer have got is a modern approach to point of proof of value. It's not, we're not going to customer and talking strategy. We are executing and getting a proof of value to them. We're exploring full capabilities of generative AI in a sandbox environment. We're evaluating performance and data accuracy in a fully functional POC environment, and that we have a cross-functional team to do data engineering, cloud engineering, and also UI UX for experiences. All right, we are right on time. I would like to thank you all for taking the time today. Really appreciate you jumping on this call. If there are any questions, please reach out to PMsquare counterpart, your sales counterpart, or your engineering counterpart. But I'd like to thank you all for taking this time to join me and PMsquare in order to understand why generative AI projects fail and what can you do about it.